All right. Well, for those like me that didn't get their 10,000 steps in for the day, I'm okay with staying a little bit more spread out. I'll make my way back and forth. Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm here today with actually very prideful, someone who was an SDR and has now been promoted to an AE, Andrew from my team here. And I know you guys all have had the prideful moment of being able to bring your SDRs to the next level. So very, very excited to be here with you all. I'm from Brandcast. Previous to Brandcast, I was on the early on days of ClearSlides. So I've been in the sales engagement world for a while now. And in my time here at Brandcast, I've been really talking about digital transformation, typically on the marketing side of the house, what it means to build websites for every stage of the customer journey. And very recently, I've extended a lot of functionality to the sales org. So for those that are paying attention or looking for very specific topics here, a lot of the things being covered here is really the convergence of the sales and marketing teams. And more specifically, a lot of the sales development work that goes on in tandem with marketing and being able to really kind of take things to the next level for breaking into fresh business, but also for growing existing accounts. And why are we doing this? Well, according to HubSpot, a misalignment between your sales and marketing organizations presents quite an opportunity in terms of not just streamlining what you actually do, but capitalizing more revenue. Now, why is this? This is one that scared me once upon a time. Really, the buyer's journey, now more than ever, is self-directed. Each people that we are working with, and sorry, I'm making sure these animations come in correctly, really do prefer to do their research online. A Forrester report years ago scared me a lot. It said that there are 6 million salespeople in the world. By 2023, there will be 1 million. Because people prefer to do things on the phone, get their information on their own time at the right moment. And often that breaks down the trust barrier that we actually have as salespeople. Now with that as well, also contributing, is that in this buying process, 60% of buyers today prefer actually not to interact with a sales rep as much as possible. Now, these are troublesome things. Essentially, we are analog in a digital world. It's very hard to stay relevant, especially as the marketing side of the house is getting further and further sophisticated with the way that they're able to target, personalize, and serve content depending on every stage of the buyer's journey. Now, a traditional marketing model meant that we essentially focused on digital just really at the top of the funnel. And as we've moved through and really started to understand every stage of this buying process and how things interact, there's been a push to be able to go digital throughout. Once upon a time, it worked well just to have a single website to be the front door of your business. Where that lead came in, we could do some very simple scoring. These days, it is more about personalization, being available on the spot, on your phone, looking fantastic. And it is no longer just the burden of a demand gen team, it's the burden of every single commercial team as they engage with people throughout the entire process. So what's the problem with that? Well, the old way really does set us up to be disconnected from each other in terms of a sales and marketing organization. The old way really means that marketing was in charge of bringing in the leads, throwing them over the fence. We're in charge of personalizing the experience thereafter and closing the deal. These are not new things, right? One of the first tenets of the Challenger sale that I used to learn was my job to personalize the buying experience, to make sure that they understood the value points very specific to their needs. Well, if I'm a bit of a dinosaur in a digital world, I need to find a way to personalize that experience from the very start, and oftentimes that's going to be with the way that I deliver and engage with content. So what's our opportunity? When we align, close rates, win rates increase 38%. And overall, huge increases across the way that we can grow revenue, not just on new business, but of course, the hot button topic in marketing these days, how we can grow existing accounts. They're very personalized ABM approaches, ADR teams, BDR teams, and those that specialize in delivering the right content on time to the right opportunity to get our sales process really moving. So what we are talking about today, for a lot of organizations, they coin it a lot of different things. Digital innovation, digital transformation. Essentially for all of us, it is just an understanding that there is no world in which we throw things over the fence anymore. There is no world in which marketing is delivering, we are taking and we're breaking off from the entire system of the 360 view that Salesforce talks about with the customer. So in the following presentation, we're really going to be jumping into the different steps that we can start to merge these worlds from a technology standpoint, from a strategy standpoint, from a content standpoint. And kind of the rub here really needs to be digital transformation needs to be easier than what we're actually even doing today. So we're going to go through a few different things. A couple of them might be pretty obvious, but they are wildly important. I'll share a few examples and kind of things the way we're doing them in-house here at Brandcast. And before I jump in, I won't do too much, but Brandcast itself is actually a Mark Benioff investment company. So we are essentially the website cloud for enterprise. And really the idea here is to help organizations, sales and marketing alike, to take those first steps into digital transformation. So if you have Mark Benioff as an investor, the first thing you are going to need to do are connect your clouds. Now, this is somewhat obvious, but the cloud did a lot for sales teams. Once upon a time, we used to have to rely on very old and slow-moving systems as our platform of record. I'm sure there's not too many people around here that had to use the CRMs of old before Salesforce came around, but they took years to implement. They cost millions of dollars, and inevitably they turned into shelfware. For the first time ever, we could swipe a credit card and get our system off the ground immediately and run it ourselves. Cloud was born, and we loved it as salespeople. But what ended up happening was the ability to swipe a card and bring in different types of software on a dime, really, allowed us to buy things that really disconnected from each other. And now with so many solutions in place, we've created a new problem. And in that way, we've disconnected a lot of our solutions, which disconnects our workflow and disconnects our insights. And yes, top-performing companies overall understand the importance of any technology needing to plug in completely to everything that you do. Now, that's a little bit obvious to a certain degree, and I think most of us would realize that that would be the case. However, the way most organizations do work today, we still continue to work in one space where marketing has really embraced the idea of these analytics, these insights, and everything they can do at digital, while we step back and continue to live in a world of PDFs and PowerPoints and things that not only don't convey our message, don't personalize, don't scale, but even more so, breaks all of the insights that we are working so hard to understand across all of our revenue opportunities. So, the first step of doing anything in marketing is you need to integrate both stacks and bring it into a single set of insights. Seems obvious, a little bit more difficult to do. So, in a new world, in essence, you want to create a single workflow and a single understanding for every single touch point in the customer journey. We, as sales development people, eventually account executives, customer success, service, and account management teams, we too need to be a part of this entire process, producing things that carry the brand, that connect everything throughout the journey. Now, a big piece of that, though, and the larger challenge, is if you are going to go digital, that means it is time to Webify everything. Yes, I don't think that's actually a verb, but it really helped the slide pop, so I'm just going to need you guys to bear with me. The issue being that offline content is dead. I know that we have a lot of people in the room who are in leadership themselves, and they would love a world where they have so much time that they're at their desk, at their computer, being able to open up emails on a beautiful desktop and get everything that you need. It is just not the case. Our decision makers, the people we're trying to get a hold of and work with, they're just like the rest of us. If you're going to communicate with them, chances are it's going to be right here. What doesn't work here? Offline content. PDFs that sit out there that you can't update once you have 2,000 of them in the universe. PowerPoint decks that you have no control over, and those type of things in terms to get things out there. And inevitably, you're losing roughly 40 to 50% of the customer insights that are available in terms of content that's working at the right time, and helping serve all the other commercial teams that are actually helping you throughout the process. To give you an example of the type of data that you can generate in these cases, I actually want to talk a little bit about Salesforce itself and some of the things they're able to do. So imagine that you are looking to get into a top account. And as an SDR team, you have a PDF that talks about all the wonderful things that you can do, and you lead with this as your clickable content within the process. However, We know that this company we're going after is going to be taking a regional approach. So we have a land and expand model going where we want to share the examples, the testimonials, and these type of things. All that information already lives in our CRM. It lives in our marketing automation systems. Yet for some reason, when we go try to reach out, we're continuing to use things that don't share that information with the customer and help push the journey along. Whereas these days, if you know that you are trying to break into a certain set of accounts, you use digital content to do so. There are easy ways to add analytics for your marketing team to then serve them display ads, talking about the exact same messaging in case study that you're trying to break into. Highlighting in LinkedIn different type of ads that will allow them to see, ooh, these are the people in your company that are actually producing these different things. Within the Salesforce ecosystem, it's a neat thing where they actually, on the proposal process, will set up and know that if someone's interested in purchasing Quip, that they can then serve them instead of top of the funnel information on Quip, they can actually serve them case studies and those type of things, knowing that they're further in the buying process. Now, we're at sales development, so that's not necessarily as interesting, but the bottom line here is web content generates data. Data that is necessary for every single other person within the commercial team to be better at their job and to pretty much capitalize on every revenue opportunity. Wouldn't you love it when you were selling and have your biggest deal of the year on the line that you know that pretty much everywhere your prospect goes online, they're getting the right information based on where you're at and what you're trying to do. So the way we talk about it, we talk about building a relationship, not a slide deck. A relationship is something that demonstrates the fact that we have information about you and we're not using it against you, we're using it for you in order to help you understand your different buying decisions. And in the end, as I mentioned before, if it's not on the phone, it really doesn't exist. So as an SDR team that is sending out emails all day long in different cadences, we've created those cadences based on our different interests and value props, and the accompanying set of content needs to be digital, and it needs to be plugged into absolutely everything that we do. And in the end, as I mentioned before, a lot of customers will not come back if they don't have that very nice mobile experience. Our point 3, let me get a quick time check on here. I know we're end of the day on the Friday. Everybody's, of course, looking forward to either flights or happy hour, which I can much understand, is, of course, to use that data. Highly data-driven orgs see a growth of more than 30% annually. And again, this is not an old or a new concept by any means. Does any of us really believe at this point that when we run a Google search, Google isn't holding on to that data, right? Not at all. Buyers, viewers, all of us understand that when we click on your materials, you are tracking us, right? When I went to your website and downloaded that white paper, I know you still know that, right? And for me personally, I don't know how you feel, the breakdown for me is when you don't leverage that appropriately. When you haven't taken all of my interests, all of my click activity, everything I've responded to, everything I've read, everything I've done on your website, if you don't have that complete customer profile on me by the time I'm on the phone, I'm hurt, right? Nothing has been personalized to me. Marketing has been fantastic at doing this a very long time. It's time for SDR teams and sales teams to do the exact same thing. In doing so, you really do get connected to the entire experience. So there's a lot of companies here talking about the readiness of sales content and the ability to deliver it. And that's all great. I've been in that space a long time myself. But more often than not, the true content that is actually driving personalization, driving the business, oftentimes lives on the marketing side of the house. And we can use a lot of that in order to really push everything forward. And again, coming back to it, that's the whole point of what we're doing here, is how can you actually connect these things? So, the first key is personalization. Most buyers pretty much will not take a look at any type of offer unless it is personalized to them. The second idea is consumption. Everything that's done on a website, as opposed to a PDF, can be measured. For those of you that have the opportunity to work on the marketing side of the house, it's amazing what they know about their content. Heat maps, click paths, data management. This goes to this email, this to that. There's nothing they don't understand about their prospect, while we're yelling and screaming because they clicked on the email, right? It's almost not fair. Why are they able to understand everything about a client? Well, that's because they're able to keep this beautiful rotation of content and personalization that honestly makes it easier to build a beautiful mobile experience, a beautiful digital experience, easier than it is to actually even make a PDF. And finally is the power of iteration. Nothing works forever. There's a reason why marketing teams are constantly doing things like A/B testing. And some of them, I'll admit, there's a reason why I'm on the sales side of the house. I've seen, one landing page where it's a gentleman in a green jacket like this, and another landing page where it's a blue jacket like this. And they're A/B testing for a month to see which one works. It gets a little bit to the point of ridiculous, but the truth is that there's power in iteration. There's constantly new ways to be engaging your customer. Even within serving up case studies and other content, there's ways to highlight what's most important to them. And at large, we want to know across a set of 500, 600, 700 target accounts what content is actually performing the most. And I don't mean one of 12 slides. I mean what this on the page versus that, and what click activity is that actually getting to us. So from here, we're heading into step 4, which is a little bit more of how does this actually work? And again, to kind of take a step back, and I apologize if everyone already knows this, I just want to be kind of clear in the systems that we're actually talking about that drive this convergence of the two teams. You saw this slide earlier, the old way. The way I hate. That line in the middle is the one that plagued my early days, right? So these days, we need to connect things. Well, the way to do that is through the different systems. So again, we talked a moment ago about the CRM and its history. And of course, the CRM overall is our platform for record for doing everything we're doing. Your sales loft, your outreach, your everything plugs in and it all flows beautifully back there. Oftentimes, the CRM is that point in which we can interact with marketing in terms of lead scoring and those type of things. For marketing teams, their platform of record, more often than not, if it is not a marketing automation system, is a CMS. A CMS being a content management system. That's the place where all the good stuff lives, where they've tagged and figured out on all the buyer profiles what content to send at what time to get them to do this action based on their industry vertical and all the other wonderful things that we need to leverage in sales as well. So in a new world, they cannot live as separate systems. The problem being, though, CMSs are very old. The original ones that powered the web in the beginning, still the ones we use today. How many people use WordPress? 20% of the internet powered by WordPress. Pretty much the same platform it was in 2002. Before a mobile phone, before a cloud, before a social network. That might be a slide out of order. Or I might have mixed the slide. That's just a fun way of me queuing up that obviously slide decks don't work and that they're dead. No, I wish that was the case. In a new world, the CRM needs to become the CMS. So the CMS used to be in place to help marketing teams to be able to edit websites without having to rely on a developer. So that developer could build a page, and then a marketer can go into the CMS and enter in the text, and then boop, they have their blog page. But that's kind of the problem. Our CRM is where we have all the data. We have all the data that we want to use to drive our processes. So in this new world, you need to figure out a way to get your CRM data completely connected into any of the landing pages, websites, or any other collateral you use to engage with prospects at any given time. And just like we talked about in the rest of the presentation, personalizing it to exactly what you want them to do at exactly the right time. And last one, personalization. I've gotten very good feedback at the conference here, actually. And I would say the resounding one, as we talked about our product here, was, oh wow, so I can personalize everything. which is fantastic, right? Because 65% of business buyers say they switch brands if a company didn't make efforts to personalize their communications. 78% of consumers will only evaluate offers if they're actually personalized. Well, I'm going to give a check-in on time. We're pretty much coming close to the end here. We've known this for a long time in terms of personalization. We've found ways to put personalized emails or personalized videos into emails. We've put our face into the email signature at the top of this, at the top of that. That's personalizing it to a certain degree. But no, I'm talking about personalization in regards to buyer intent. As I mentioned, in this new world in convergence in sales and marketing, if marketing knows something in terms of what a buyer is interested in, then our sales team, our SDR team, needs to be able to have that same information and serve it up in every single touch point throughout their entire process. Now, a bit of a shameless plug. There's one thing I need to acknowledge here. I've done this chat a few times. A lot of people really like everything that's said, and the big hurdle is, how am I getting an SDR to build a website, right? So I just want to acknowledge that all of this needs to be done without a disruptance to a workflow. So in the bit of the shameless plug of a product herself, what you are seeing up on the screen here is actually an application that is part of Brandcast that lives on the Salesforce App Exchange, allows marketing team to actually design any type of template or need, map that directly over to content repositories, and SDR team can come in and with a couple fields, fill out what their name is, those type of things, even pull data directly from the CRM and populate a live responsive landing page that can work throughout all your process. We internally, and that's why I wanted to mention this gentleman here, this is the start of our engagement with a prospect. This single URL will eventually take form throughout each stage of our processes, eventually become our proposal, and then eventually actually even become our spot for all of our customer success and account management to be the centralized record for everything that's going on. So, I've talked about a lot of things, and I wanted to give an offer because, of course, if I'm going to tell you about how you should be building thousands of websites, and you all kind of already know that that would be really neat, we need to prove to you that it would actually be easier than what you're doing today, which is building PDFs and PowerPoint decks. So, you guys want to give it a try? Send us your PDF. I've got a whole design team here, and we specialize in this. Send us your sales content. We'll turn it into a website. We'll help you connect it to all of your different data, and you can start playing with immediately what a completely connected system of digital content and analytics and everything else like that can do for our team. Andrew here is going to walk towards the back there. Cue Andrew. Yeah. And by no means do I expect that you have those PDFs with you. But without getting into it too much, there's a lot of reasons to actually give this a try. If you sell into any type of schools, they have a lot of things that say no more paper, no more anything, no more anything like that. But if you've ever considered what it would look like to go completely digital as a sales team, we do want to show you that very quickly and very easily. Please do connect with us in the back. Before I say completely and bring it up here, I guess, that's it. I was going to say questions.
I love the
That'll work.
plugs. And we're in the back doing live demos right now.
Yeah.
Love it, love it. You guys, let's give it up for Matt. Thank you so much.